We're joined by distinguished professor at Tura University, Thane Rosenbaum, and former prosecutor, constitutional law attorney, and Newsmax contributor, Amir Benno. Thane, we were all waiting on the edge of our seats for that affirmative action thing, and it didn't come out today. First of all, why are they waiting maybe to the last day that they release opinions so they can go on fishing trips? I won't get into that, but and then where do you think they're going to come down on that?
So, Bob, the Supreme Court historically has a flair for the dramatic. Yeah. The most contentious issues, the ones that have the most public interest, end up being released on the last days of June, sometimes even into early July, before July 4th. So I would have told you, I would have said, there's no way you're going to hear affirmative action today. They still had 6 decisions, and the 2 big ones, as you've pointed out many times, affirmative action and the cancellation of student debt. So I don't even know if we'll hear, it's conceivable that we go another week. Yeah. Because at this point, Bob, there's still 4 more decisions, at least 4 more decisions that would be coming out on Thursday. And they don't tend to release so many in one day. In terms of affirmative action, look, at the oral argument, it seemed as if the justices, a majority of the justices, thought that 60 years of racial preferences was enough, and that although diversity is worthwhile, diversity on the basis of skin color demonstrates that there's no color blindness. So the court is essentially going to say, I think, if you want to bring people in because they play hockey or violin or their parents went to school here, or in your case, Bob, play baseball, that's fine. But we can't discriminate on the basis of race by preferring people of color against Asians who, in their view, were saying, well, we have the test scores to be admitted to the school, and we have been prejudiced by our skin color. And so I think that the treating skin color as a factor is those days, I think, are now numbered.
Amir Benno, the other, of course, decision was on student debt. Does it stand a chance? You have a lot of people that specifically voted for a specific candidate because he promised he would do away with tens of thousands of debt. But does the president really have the right to just simply wipe away all of that money?
Well, I don't sit on the court, but if I did, I would say no, the president doesn't have that power. And it's going to come down to something called the major questions doctrine, and whether that's when you have decisions of vast economic or political significance, whether Congress can delegate that power to an administrative agency without explicitly saying so. And that's essentially what this is. They're trying to take some ambiguous language in a statute and say that that ambiguous language gives the Department of Education the power to completely cancel debt. So that's one issue they're going to deal with. The other one, if they don't get to that one, is going to be how they interpret that statute. The statute talks about giving the Department of Education power to waive or modify debt, but not to cancel debt. Those are very different things. And then, of course, much like some of these other cases, including the affirmative action case, hanging out there is also this issue of standing, whether the petitioners in this case have the legal right to sue. And if they want to avoid the issue entirely, they could always say, sorry, but we're not going to deal with the merits. They didn't have standing. So this could break out with fractured decisions. Some judges may go one way, some may go the other. But I think at the end, if you add it all up, they're going to throw out this cancellation policy.
Yeah, we're short on time here, Thane. But I did want to mention that the case was actually about Asian students especially being discriminated against, not African Americans, which is a little different twist. 15 seconds on that, if you will.
Well, remember, Bob, the Asians lost in the lower courts. So that's what's really interesting. They lost at the federal trial court and they lost in the federal appeals court. When the Supreme Court took it up, that was a hint, right, that they saw something wrong here. Yeah. That they said that, I'm not sure that we think that we want racial neutrality, not racial preferences or racial balancing. And the Asians are saying, we feel like we were excluded on the basis of race. Yeah.
I think they had a guy that had like 1650 on his boards and a 4.6.
Yeah, he almost got like a perfect score. You can get into all these schools.
Didn't get in.
It's astounding to me that somebody would be prevented from getting into a school based on his skin color, whatever that skin color should
now
be.
They say the argument is that there are Asians now trying to disguise that they're Asian to get a better chance of getting in. That's where we are. And that was part of the discussion, because I'm a nerd, Thane. I actually listened to the 4.5 hours arguments or whatever it was.
You are a nerd.
I am. I've got no life whatsoever. Thane Rosenbaum, Amir Benno, thank you so much.